basement of La Penta. This is WICR.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Sports Vault. I've been teasing it all morning. I've been saying who's coming in. He is here, back in the flesh. Big shot, Rob. It is great to have you back in.
Thank you, Joe. It's great to be here today. I mean, the weather's been terrible today.
Brutal.
But so excited to be back for the Sports Vault. You know, best show here, so let's get to it.
Absolutely. Could not have said it better. And it's nice and cozy in this little studio. No reason to leave here. Let's just talk sports all day. Now, we're going to start off with the NBA trade deadline from yesterday. Just pure insanity, everything that happened. Unfortunately, though, for one team that we all thought was going and really resurged and revitalized themselves, it seems like bad news. Now, Chris Bosh, the news came out this morning. Bosh was admitted to a Miami area hospital Thursday after meeting with a doctor. The Heat's forward underwent initial tests, proved inconclusive according to the Heat, but there's a fear that he could have blood clots in his lungs. If there is blood clots, he could be out for the remainder of the season. Now, Chris Bosh is one of my favorite players. I really enjoy watching him play the game, so that would just be really devastating for them. I mean, just, Rob, talk about, when they got Goran Dragic, I think we all thought this team is really poised for a great deal of second-half success. But now this news coming out with Chris Bosh, how much could this damper them if he's out?
This could really hurt their playoff hopes, Joe, because if he's out the rest of the year, yeah, you could say, oh, they still have Dwayne Wade, but Dwayne Wade is so injury-prone nowadays.
He's struggling with injury himself, yeah.
And Goran Dragic's not going to be able to lead this Miami Heat team by himself. This Miami Heat team is not great. It's not like LeBron James is there. And Bosh, really killer. He really stepped it up this year. LeBron leaves. Now he's averaging 21 points a game, 7 rebounds a game. And to just not have his presence on court is really going to cause major damage to Miami Heat's playoff hopes.
I'm 100% in agreement with you. The thing that I loved seeing about this team was when you had Chris Bosh and a Goran Dragic, Dwayne Wade, you get him every now and then, he rests, and then you still have Luol Deng. That's a heck of a good lineup. That's really good. And the Heat still play good defense. They still move the ball. The only thing they struggle with is playmaking, and Goran Dragic would make that easier for everybody. But now with Chris Bosh, if he's out, and you already have Dwayne Wade, who we all understand how much of a shell of his former self he is due to injury, you've got to think, they go from possibly moving up from the 7th seed to maybe not even making the playoffs. I don't know if without Chris Bosh they could even make the playoffs, because that is that is their offense, basically.
Yeah, and you have to watch out now. The Celtics are only 1.5 games out.
Yeah.
They made a big trade picking up a point guard in Isaiah Thomas. And you know what? With Isaiah Thomas, that team's actually very dangerous now. Now they have a 3-guard set with Marcus Smart, Avery Bradley. They didn't get a big center like they were supposed to in DeMarcus Cousins. But this Celtics team could do damage down the stretch and really knock Miami out.
I completely agree with you, and it's interesting because I think, we all hope Chris Bosh is okay, me especially, because, the NBA is better when all the stars are healthy. I want Chris Bosh healthy. I want Dwayne Wade healthy, so really wishing him all the best, but that is very tough. And with the Celtics, they know their identity. They know the way they want to play. They have a very up-tempo type style, and when you play smart and you know how you want to play, even when you don't have the greatest talent, that's going to help you win a lot of games, and they'd certainly do that, and Isaiah Thomas will help that a lot. But I want to go on to the next big one, because obviously yesterday was insane with all the point guards dealt, but one of the big ones we all had a feeling would be moved, in addition to Goran Dragic, was Reggie Jackson now going to the Pistons. Now, I don't know, Rob. I'm still not 100% sold that Reggie is a definitive starting point guard in this league. What did you make of his move to Detroit?
I like the move. I feel that Reggie just felt with the Thunder that he can never succeed to his full potential. He's a great 6-man off the bench for them. And when Russell Westbrook went down last year, he really stepped up going down the stretch for them. This year he's averaging about 12 to 14 points a game with 4 assists. I think he could fill the void for the Pistons without Brandon Jennings and maybe help reboot this team. Before Brandon Jennings went down with the injury, that Pistons team looked like on a run to make the playoffs. and I think Reggie Jackson will fill this void and could possibly lead this team to the playoffs.
See, I like this situation currently a lot because, like you said, Brandon Jennings out for the year. It's going to be really good because he'll get to prove himself. This is what he wants. He gets to prove himself now. Now, he played very good minutes when Russell Westbrook was out with his injuries. The only thing I'm still not sure is that because he fits so well into that system already. But you could see the guy has ability, and it'll definitely be interesting to see. But let's talk a little bit about who the Thunder got for him. They did get DJ Augustine. They did get Enes Kanter. They did get Kyle Singler, and they got Steve Novak. Now, our knock together on the Thunder has been they're really a player short. The depth has been an issue for them. In your mind, did they kind of alleviate that concern with the moves yesterday?
I think they did. I mean, Kanter is a great pickup for them, starting off with him. Great rebounder, good shooter inside, and they needed to get rid of Kendrick Perkins, Joe. He's being paid $9 or $10 million a year. He's only scoring 4 points, maybe picking up 5 rebounds a game. And this guy hasn't stepped it up big time for them. DJ Augustine playing terrific with the Pistons with Brandon Jennings being out, and his veteran presence on the team will be terrific for this Thunder. Kyle Singler is going to be pretty decent for them. I like the addition of Steve Novak, great three-point shooter.
They need shooting.
But come playoff time, we all know how Steve Novak is. Everybody's on Steve Novak. I've seen it as a big Knicks fan. I've seen it. He can't shoot in the playoffs because he gets guarded all the time. But I think they did fill the voids that they needed this offseason. I mean, they wanted Brook Lopez. Couldn't get a deal because he didn't want to exercise his player option. But I think Kanter will be a good fit for them.
And it's interesting because I haven't watched Enes Kanter a lot. I haven't watched a lot of Utah Jazz basketball this season, but it seems like I was a little bit wrong. I mean, initially when he came into the league, I really didn't see much of an offensive game, but from everything I've heard from everyone, it seems like he has developed a little bit of an inside game, and that's very important for them because that's a position they really haven't been getting a ton from. And if you plug in Enes Kanter, that could be a big upgrade. It's definitely an upgrade over what they had because Kendrick Perkins was about as useless on offense as anybody you could possibly find in the NBA. So that's something there, and it's all about depth. Russell Westbrook does not have an off switch, as we saw again last night. Just what a relentless competitor. And the Thunder are interesting. They've got the 8th spot with the win last night. We'll continue to see if they can climb up. But let's move on to the next one. And now, Rob, I know you were very excited about this one. Kevin Garnett back with the Minnesota Timberwolves. What did you make of it?
First off, I'm going to say this, Joe. That's a pure class act from Kevin Garnett. It takes a lot when you're in a playoff race, especially with Brooklyn. You're like the 9th or 10th seed, and you just go to a team that's not even going to make the playoffs. I'm actually excited to see him back in Minnesota. When he was in Minnesota, he was one of my favorite players, always in the playoffs, but didn't have the pieces around him to ever make it to the championship. He won an MVP, and ever since he left Minnesota to Boston, Minnesota has not made it to the playoffs. But this guy, terrific player. And you know what? He's going to be able to teach guys like Andrew Wiggins, teach them what it's like to be in this league because Kevin Garnett is one of the best Minnesota Timberwolves players of all time. You know what? He's the best Minnesota Timberwolves player of all time.
I agree.
Best player growing up. And just a pure class act. It takes a lot to switch teams like that, to just go, we're in a playoff hunt here, and I'm just going to go here, finish off the season with Flip Sanders. We're not making the playoffs, but we're in rebuild mode, and it takes a lot to do that.
It does, and like you said, the nostalgia with KG is something that I think we all kind of grew up in the era where he dominated. I mean, remember that when he won the MVP in 2004, how dominant he was for those Timberwolves teams. I still have my Timberwolves KG jersey in the closet somewhere. I loved watching him with Minnesota, and it was a cool move because it definitely shows you, and one thing he's always done really well is really been a great mentor and teammate to people. And this is a very young Minnesota Timberwolves team. I mean, we just saw the other day with Zach LaVine how good he is. He's 19. Andrew Wiggins, how young he is. There is a lot of young potential players on this roster. Now, Anthony Bennett is the one. Can he help Anthony Bennett realize who Anthony Bennett is and how to play basketball again? Maybe. I mean, KG is a good mentor type guy. It's kind of a good a heartfelt type thing here. And they've got a lot of young up-and-coming guys here, so we will see what he can do there. But moving along, the next one I want to go to, Rob, is just kind of talking about the Denver Nuggets, because they're a team where I kind of thought they should have just blown it all up. I don't really understand what they're trying to do here. They traded JaVale McGee. They traded Aflalo to the Portland Trailblazers. And definitely Aflalo to the Portland was a big move. But I don't think anyone's happy in Denver. Ty Lawson, we saw his name. He could have potentially been moved. But it seems like with Coach Shaw, he doesn't like the players, their effort level. They're not in love with him. No one is happy. They really can't compete with how good the Western Conference is. I don't really understand why you don't just blow up the roster and start over.
I would have in a heartbeat. And it comes down to, Joe, we look at it, comes down to the firing of George Karl.
It does.
You fire that guy. His system had been working. You know what? He hasn't gone past the first round of the playoffs a lot. With Carmelo, he made it to the Western Conference Finals once. But give it to the guy. The guy was winning, Joe, over 50 games a year, even 60 games. And once he leaves, Brian Shaw's teams cannot compete. And you know what? We look at it now. They should have just blown that whole team up, start rebooting now, get some young players in the draft. It's going to really hurt them coming into next season.
I completely agree with you. And, I mean, George Karl, remember, that season, he was the coach of the year. They didn't lose at home that season. I mean, they had Andre Iguodala that year. Things were looking really good. You let him go, and things have just gone completely downhill from there. You probably could have gotten something nice for Ty Lawson, because he's a heck of a player, one of the better point guards in this league. But I really don't like what they're doing down there in Denver. They don't have any identity. They don't really know what they are, especially from a player and a coaching standpoint. When both sides aren't happy, something good isn't going to happen, and they are definitely not in a good position right now. But that is going to wrap it up. About 10 minutes, 11 minutes of NBA talk. A lot of good stuff. When we come back, talking baseball, Big Shot Rob's favorite, so stay with us, and we will be right back.